Okay, let's begin our Zoom conference with West Virginia head basketball coach Josh Eilert. Coach, we'll start with an opening comment from you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Just wanted to recap. It's been a great week to get our legs under us and work on us as a team, and it's nice to have this week off in the Big 12 scheduling to be able to do those things. So this week, Sunday, Monday, we were off. Took two straight days off, and hopefully that's good for recovery in our legs and it certainly showed, when we came in on Tuesday and had a full practice and really got after it. And we had a little bit more pep in our step and seemed like we were really rejuvenated and locked in. And yesterday was kind of a 3-quarter practice. Today will be a full practice again. And tomorrow we'll go lighter before we travel out and play early, on Saturday. So looking forward to, taking on the Longhorns again. And I know it's going to be a challenge and they'll be ready for us for sure. So looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. Our first question today comes from Greg Hunter.
So, Josh, start with a couple of them. First of all, any update on a cook?
He's been full go ever since Saturday. So starting on Tuesday, we had no issues. So he was with us in practice, and so we're in a good spot with him right now.
Okay. Then secondly, 2-game road trip. Obviously, your first as a head coach, but you've been a part of many of these. Positives and negatives of one trip for 2 games. Going out and playing. Obviously, quick turnaround for you guys between Saturday and Monday.
Yeah, I think it's critical for us as a program to knock out some of these. If you can get two-game trips a year and you can eliminate some of the back and forth, and especially if it's Saturday, Monday. Sometimes when it's Saturday, Tuesday, the time can drag on. Being in a hotel all that time, so you got to look for other opportunities to get out of the hotel and do some other things, and we'll certainly even do that on a short trip, this weekend. So, it's beneficial for especially us being an outlier in the league, in terms of geographically to knock out 2 trips and certainly, go 4 hours down the road or 3.5 hours down the road to your next destination, get settled in and practice at that home arena on Sunday and play on Monday. So, it kind of takes out some of the jet lag in the process. And I think certainly, on the road in these situations, you have a heck of a lot better chance, when you're settled in and you're not, rushing to travel out somewhere and turn around and play real quick.
Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you, Justin?
Good. Hey, I'm just kind of wondering, you guys are 20-some games into the season now. And for you, I mean, you've been around coaching at different levels for most of your life, pretty much. But to be this first-time head coach now, what will you take with you? What have you learned? What has surprised you? Has being the head coach, has it been everything, you thought it would be at this point? This is your first time going through it.
Well, every day for me, it becomes more rewarding and it slows down a little bit. This time of year, we're in the middle of conference play, but everything's, the huge waves have started to settle. Early in the process, I mean, it felt like you were getting hit with huge wave after huge wave, and we were all new to this. I was new to being a head coach. I had 4 guys that were basically new to being assistant coaches, so we were building that chemistry between our staff and meanwhile trying to navigate all the challenges that we were navigating. So the waves have started to calm a bit, and now we're settling into the position, and it's just so happened that all these things happen so fast, and we were all trying to manage this high stress situation early in our careers, one, me and being a head coach for the first time, then being assistant coaches for the first time. So, I'd say, more than anything, it's starting to calm a bit. We're starting to settle into our positions, and I think, certainly, we wish it would have, played out a little differently from the jump and had our whole roster, but it wasn't the case. So, we've made the most of it, and now we're trying to make the most of the last, 9, 10 games of where we're at with the season, and really, make some waves from our standpoint, moving forward.
Because of all the things that you guys have had to navigate, the roster management and injuries, and this guy's eligible, this guy's not, that sort of thing. Have you been able to grow well, let me ask it this way. Have you been able to focus on your coaching as much as, say a coach that hasn't had to navigate that kind of stuff?
Well, I've had to, many times I've had to train or change my train of thought in terms of my coaching approach, based on our situation. So, we didn't certainly get into a groove like every other team that, probably had their roster set, in May, took their team on a foreign tour and everything else, and they kind of settled into a groove early. We didn't have that opportunity by any means. So, now we're trying to, at the end of the season, settle into our groove and get everything, to a point where it's a well-oiled machine, and we're competing night in, night out in the hardest conference in the country. So it certainly has been a challenge. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but I tell you what, it's been a great growth opportunity for each and every one of us in this program.
And then just, knowing, kind of looking for your opinion on this, I kind of think I know what it is, but, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to July, would you have still, taken this position?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember telling Joe Mazzulla, telling me how difficult the situation is, and he said, "But understand, you're playing with house money. I mean, you get an opportunity to be a head coach. So, that's the way you got to look at it. It's
Yeah.
going to be a complete challenge in every sense of the word, but that's where people and individuals, come out with, more growth. I didn't take over a program with a set roster 10 games into the season with, that was top 10 in the country. We were piecing things together late in the summer and doing everything we could to make sure, we put ourselves in a position to be competitive.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Greg Carey.
Yeah, Josh, the first time you played Texas, you held your own on the glass. Obviously, you didn't have Jesse in that game. So how do you duplicate that? And is there anything else from that first meeting that you try to, take away and build off of before the second matchup?
Well, we certainly have to be way better offensively. I look back to the game, watched it 2 or 3 times since, and one of the big things that stands out to me is how, poor we were offensively. We changed some things defensively going into that game, and our game plan was pretty solid, and we executed that fairly well, and we rebounded the ball well. But our offense was very stagnant. We took bad shots. I think we almost had 9 turnovers in the first 11 minutes of that game. So there was a lot to be said with how we play offensively against Texas, and that's something we certainly have to shore up going into the game to be put ourselves in a position to win on Saturday. So there's different things we're doing defensively, especially with Jesse in the lineup, and hopefully that certainly helps us in the rebounding end of things. But I think back, Noah Farrakhan, I think he had 7 rebounds. I need that type of effort from all of our guards and everybody on the floor, regardless of whether Jesse's on the floor or not. They can't look at Jesse as being the end all be all on the rebounding end of things. So, there's certainly things we can take away from that game, but they are playing a little differently. We're playing a little differently. The one standout that I see that they've changed since we played them has been Kendall Weaver. He's been playing at such a high level, and he just makes so many plays with his tenacity and his will to compete each and every possession. So they've inserted him in the starting lineup, and he's really making them go right now.
Our next question goes to Bob Hertzel.
Yeah, Josh, I don't know if you saw last night that Kelvin Sampson got ejected with his team up 20 points and went off about the referees. And on the air, Fran Fraschilla made a couple of statements, and the main thing he said was that the last 2 weeks the conference has gotten way too physical, that the officials have let them get away with it. That uncalled illegal screens, boxed out tackles, and undercutting lob catches will get someone hurt soon. He says it's pervasive and league wide. Do you see that? Do you see the problem there that they're letting the play get a little too rough?
Well, I mean, the Big 12 has been a physical league. Certainly I've argued over the course of my tenure here that I've argued a lot of freedom of movement, and especially the way we play. But they got a hard job. The referees really do have a hard job with how competitive this league is and how physical this league is. So I respect what they do, night in, night out. They're human. They're not going to be perfect by any means. But I'm certainly not going to get into a position where I'm backed in the corner and making a comment about officiating when I got, I don't need a $25,000 fine when I got three kids to put through college yet. So, but I respect what they do. It's a very hard job, and certainly, especially in this league with how competitive and how physical it is. So sometimes emotions can get the best of us when we're trying to compete like that.
Is there a sweet spot there of physicality for a league? I mean, that should be allowed and shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought a lot about this in terms of the physicality of the league, and even going back to the Big East days when that was as physical a league as any country or any conference in the country at that point. And sometimes when you're allowed to play that physical, night in, night out, and then when you get to the NCAA tournament and you see different crews and different officiating, sometimes it can be to your league's detriment because they do start calling it differently. When you hit the NCAA tournament, you see a bunch of different crews out there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you fix that other than having, not having, differences and officiating from conference to conference, and probably having one leadership that oversees everything NCAA wide.
Thanks.
We'll go back to Greg Hunter.
Josh, a couple things again. Let's start with you've now had your complete roster for a couple weeks in practice and obviously a few games now. So have you seen some improvement in the cohesiveness, the chemistry? How has that manifested itself?
Yeah, some days it looks really good, and other days, you kind of digress a bit. So, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and I talked to these guys about the 11-game season. Jesse's, after that Oklahoma State game, which he was touch and go during that game, but he certainly, before the Cincinnati, we knew he was full go, and we looked at the season as an 11-game season. So here we are, 1-1, but understanding full well that we have a lot of potential still within us, and we got to maximize that potential on the way out. And certainly not where we want to be record-wise by any means. But we're going to give everything we got every single day and try to improve every single day. And that's got to be the mindset. And I continue to tell them every day, this is a lifelong journey. This is a small microcosm in your life, but you got to take every opportunity and make the most of it. And there's no different in this scenario to where we're trying to strive for growth each and every day to get better as a team and improve as a team. And really make the most of where we're at right now.
Second part of that then is sort of different tack, though. 2-game swing again. So how do you handle the scout with that? Do you feed any information on TCU to the players? Coaches just keep that internally until you get to Sunday? How do you handle the two-game scout?
Yeah, you got to look at it one game at a time. TCU is not looking forward to us. They're focused on Iowa State, this Saturday in Ames. So they're in the same boat as we are. We got to focus on Texas. once that game's over, we'll have we'll have all day Sunday to kind of turn the page, and you can do a lot this time of year just based on film breakdown and teaching, in the film room. So that Sunday, you're not looking at doing much by any means on the floor, after playing a competitive Big 12 game on Saturday and turn around playing on Monday. So there's not a whole lot you can do in that turnaround, but you can spend a lot of time in film and going over your game plan in the film room.
Justin Jackson.
Coach, kind of a two-part thing here. Going on the road again. What is it? Anything that you've been able to single out that has kept you guys from playing as well on the road? As you guys have at home.
I don't know that I've found anything to single out by any means. It certainly gets a lot harder. I mean, this league is as hard as anywhere in the country to win on the road, and I think it's especially hard this year if you're looking at statistics. So it's not just us. I mean, I think people struggle on the road in this conference in general. But if you can control your travel and do a good job with that and be efficient with that, you certainly have an advantage. But otherwise, I mean, you try to pinpoint certain things that you can improve and make sure your team's ready to play. We certainly, going and looking back at the Houston game, which we were talking about as a staff today, we weren't ready to play. We ran into a buzzsaw with our defense, and we had no pep in our step whatsoever, and that's an early tip. So, we look at different ways to do our schedule and make sure we're ready to compete. So, but it's a difficult challenge in this league to try to figure out how to get a win on the road, and I think we're the one team that in our conference that hasn't left our arena and got a road win or a neutral win. So all of our wins have come at home, and we got to figure that out.
And then the other part is, people from the outside looking in and say, well, maybe you should try this or try something different or superstitious angles or whatever. There's really not, I mean, from a coaching, standpoint, I mean, there's really not much you can do differently, right? I mean, you're in the hotel, you do the walkthrough and you play the game, and that doesn't really change, no matter what, road venue you go to, right? I mean,
each situation is different. My idea was to travel out to these arenas and before and practice there in the evening prior to whether you have a shoot around or not have a shoot around the next day, depending on the game time. So each situation is different. In this situation, that the arena is being used the night before, so we can't get in there to practice tomorrow night. So we will practice here before we leave. And it is an early tip, so we're trying to figure out whether we take our allotted time, early time for shoot around or not. So we go back and forth, and they'll probably have a lot to do with how we practice the next couple of days in terms of whether we do that shoot around or not. But there's a lot of different trains of thought, and nothing's worked thus far, so we'll keep on trying to manipulate that to figure out what's the sweet spot.
Thank you, Coach.
We'll go back to Greg Hunter.
All right, Josh, completely off topic now. Do you schedule time for the team to get together and watch the Super Bowl? How do you guys handle Sunday? You said you get away to do a few things. Do you practice in the evening? You going to watch the Super Bowl? What do you do?
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, you don't get a lot of options on the road. You kind of take what you're given. So I believe if on Sunday, the practice is going to be, or our time in the arena in Fort Worth is going to be in late morning. So we got to take advantage of that time. It's earlier than I would, prefer it to be, but it is what it is. So you take what they give you. And, but yeah, we'll get together and we got some ideas to get the team together in the afternoon and spend some time together and do some things that we can get them out of the hotel and not just sitting around and laying in a hotel bed, which can be counterproductive in a lot of ways. So yeah, we're planning some things to get together and enjoy each other's company for sure.
Kansas guy. Are you a Kansas City fan? Did you grow up that way? Which way do you lean?
Yeah, I've been a Kansas City Chiefs fan my whole life, so it's nice. You know, I didn't think this year would be the year they made the Super Bowl by any means, and they weren't playing their best football. But you know, my son and I are, that's one of our bonding experiences, sitting down and watching the Chiefs. So it's going to be nice to sit down and enjoy that with my family, which looks like they're going to go with us. So it's going to be it's exciting to have the Chiefs back in it. I think we're sitting in the middle of a dynasty.
Any other further questions for Coach Eilert? Please use the raised hand feature. Okay, Coach, I think that's all we'll have for today. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you all.